everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Emma, and if you're not new here, you've probably seen this setup before because this is always where I film my videos. And I know in some videos lately I've talked about my bookshelf, how I reorganized it. I've probably shown clips sitting in front of my other bookshelf, but I've never done an actual bookshelf tour for you guys. I have done multiple bookshelf tours on TikTok, but since I have reorganized this bookshelf, I have not done a bookshelf tour anywhere. I'm also moving in 17 days into a new apartment, and I want to be able to film like setting up my new bookshelf so you guys can see it and come along with me through the excitement of moving and setting it all up in a new space. Before I move, I figured I would do a quick tour to show you guys how I have it set up now, because once I move, it's never going to be exactly like this again. Without further ado, let's jump into it. We're going to start over here at this bookshelf because I do feel like this is kind of the most iconic one in my room. Clearly you cannot see the full view of the bookshelf right now, but we're going to start at the top and work our way down. Up at the very top, I have my full Throne of Glass collection. Now I do have the old covers, and I'm not gonna lie, I hate the old covers so much, and it's not even like, oh, I loved these covers and then when the new ones came out I was like, dang, those are so much better. No, I purchased these knowing that I didn't like the covers at all, but I just love this series so much that I needed to own all of the physical copies. But hopefully at some point in the future I will be purchasing the new covers, and then I'll just have 2 sets of one of my favorite series ever. To decorate, I just have this little crystal. I honestly don't even remember where I got this, probably Amazon, because I feel like that's where I get everything. Moving on to the middle shelf, I have all of my Harry Potter books. These dust jackets are actually from Nerdy Ink. I always get questions about where those dust jackets are from. I actually have the copies with the OG covers because I got them way back in like 3rd grade, but those covers are so beat up just because the books are so well loved that I wanted a fresh, new, fun set of covers. All of these dust jackets are from Nerdy Ink. I'm gonna have to bring you guys with me for this shelf because, like I said, the angle wasn't great. This shelf is my Harry Potter pop-up books. They're fully illustrated by Mina Lima, and they're pop-up books, so it's just fun. If you're a Harry Potter fan, I highly recommend getting these copies. To decorate this shelf, I just have my ticket from Hogwarts to London. I have a little love potion, a time turner, and then some little mini like Lego pieces. I think they're so cute. My dad got these for me for Christmas and I love them. And I have this little coin that I can flip, and it tells me to either go to sleep or to keep reading. Also on this shelf with these Harry Potter books, I do have a special edition deck of Harry Potter cards, as well as the Felix Felicis, aka Liquid Luck. My center shelf, I have all of my ACOTAR books, which are my pride and joy, my babies. This is the series that got me back into reading in college. And originally when I set up this bookshelf, I only had the ACOTAR books on this shelf and I had them like sitting up, but after a while I started to notice it was kind of causing them to bend. So that's reason number 1 that I changed it, and also I just ran out of room, so I had to stack them like this. But I have all of those stacked here, and then I have Crescent City 2 and 3 here. I have Crescent City 1 in a different place because I actually have the paperback of that, not the hardcover, and 1, it wouldn't fit here with these 2, and 2, I hate the way it looks being so short next to the hardcovers. Also on top of those, I just have this really cute Valaris Nights candle. I got this from an Etsy shop called... Who made this? It doesn't say the name of the seller on the candle, surprisingly, but I will look on Etsy, try to see if I can find it, and if I can, I will also link that below. This shelf, I have a bunch of series that I've either started and am not finished with, or haven't started at all. There's really no rhyme or reason to why I have these specific series together. I used to have the entire rest of my bookshelf color coordinated, and once I changed that, it was just kind of hard to organize it the way I wanted it. We have the Prison Healer trilogy, which I have not read yet. Bridge Kingdom, first 3 books are the ones I believe I own, and the first one's actually not in here right now because it is on my July TBR, so it's in a separate place that I'll show you in a minute. Also have books 1 and 2 in the Twisted series, and then on top I have the Indigo Ridge series. I know it's called something else. Like I want to say it's called the Eden series. I do have books 1 through 4 of that. And shout out to Red Tower Books and Tangled Publishing for sending me all of these because I've heard so many good things about these, but I just never bought them. And then they kindly sent them to me, which has given me an excuse to want to start these soon. And then on top we have Heartstoppers Volume 1 and 2. I do own the 3rd copy, but again, it's in a different place because I will be reading it this month. Completely opposite of the shelf I was just talking about, we have another situation of series I have yet to read, minus one. There is one exception on this shelf, and I don't know why I put them together. I just did. On this one, I have the Poppy War trilogy right here, and not gonna lie, I'm really intimidated by these. I've owned them for a long time, but I think because I've heard they're very complicated, I just haven't gotten to them yet. And then next to it, I have Jade City and Jade War. I do not own the third book, but this is another series that I'm very intimidated to read just because I've heard it's complicated and complex. Directly to the right, I have The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. I have read these, I love them, and I need to get my hands on the newest third book very, very soon. And right on top, we have the series that's probably been on my shelves unread longer than any other series, and that is the Scythe series. Don't know why I haven't picked these up. I've heard great things, I just haven't yet, and here they sit. Moving on, we have the shelf you guys probably see the least because I'm typically sitting in front of it, but the very middle shelf of this bookshelf is where I start to do my color coordinating, and it's not fantastic because there's still colors meshing together, but I believe, or at least for the most part, all of these books in the color coordinated sections are standalones, or they're the first book in the series that I do not own the other books in the series, so I feel okay sticking it with the other standalones. Here you can clearly see we have kind of gold brown tones up through orangey, yellow, green, and then I have the lighter blue books over here because they seemed more similar to green in my brain. And this is another situation where some of these I've read, some of them I haven't read. Thinking about when I move into my new place, if I want to have a shelf specifically dedicated to unread books, and then I can move them to a different shelf once I have checked them off my TBR, but I can't decide because I really like the color coordination, and I also really like keeping series together even if I've only read part of it. So let me know in the comments what you guys think I should do, or like what my organization system should be once I get moved into the new place. Another thing I try to do in these standalone sections is put ones I've already read towards the bottom. That way the ones I haven't read are easier to get to. I don't have to pull out as much books to get to them. But again, I can't always stick directly to that because I do try to keep up the color gradient. But for the most part, if I'm able to do that, I will put ones I've already read a little bit lower in the stack, if that makes sense. And then coming over here, we have only blue books. There is like navy mixed in here because it is really hard to separate it and keep it organized with the colors. But I made sure that all of the lighter blues were over on this shelf, and then this was more of the dark blues and navies. Once again, I've tried to organize it by ones I've already read, so almost everything on this bottom section, with the exception of these two, I've already read, and then these three are ones I want to get to soon. And it's just easier because I can pull this out easily versus having to move these to get to one of these, if that makes sense. Down here, moving on to my red shelf, it may look like red and black on camera, but I promise these are actually red. They're just very dark red. And then obviously Five Survive has a black spine, but the huge title is in red, so I feel like it could fit over on this shelf. We do get a little bit into oranges here. Surprisingly, this shelf isn't very full, but before, when I had the whole thing fully color coordinated, red got full pretty quickly, so I'm not really sure how that changed once I reorganized the shelves. Now, this is gonna be a weird angle of me hunching over, but it's literally the only way I can think to give you guys close-ups of all my bottom shelves. Starting over here in the bottom corner, I have all my pink books, and this might be one of my favorite sections just because I love pink and it's so pretty. But I kind of tried to do the color gradient here as well. I have two copies of It Ends With Us. One is my original copy, one got sent to me in PR, and it's signed by Colleen Hoover, so I obviously had to keep both copies. And I just love how this whole shelf looks because, once again, I love pink and I think it's just so aesthetic, and the fact that it's full to the very top, I don't know, I just really love this shelf. Moving you guys over to the middle, this is like a black and white shelf. I just used this little adorable melting lollipop to decorate with. Once again, I will try to find the links to all of these little trinkets and items I've decorated with and put them in the description below. But if there isn't a link, I'm sorry. That just means I wasn't able to find it or I couldn't remember where I got it. Also decorate with this little skull jar that's from Target actually. And inside of it, I just keep a bunch of bookish stickers. To take you guys even lower, there is a tiny little shelf below here. I was so confused about this little shelf because I'm like, really, what can you fit there other than a couple books? But I do use it to kind of just continue on the color gradient of all the books with black spines. And I'm really not a fan of this shelf. It irritates me how it's so small for no reason. Like, this could have all been one shelf and I could have fit more books probably. but this is what we're working with. Move you guys to the opposite side, the last shelf on this shelf. These are kind of a continuation of both the blue, which is right above it, and the black, which is directly to the left of it. And it's mostly grays, dark purples, a little bit of navy. This is probably the most unorganized shelf as far as color coordinating goes, but these are just all books that didn't really seem to fit in one of the other shelves, but somehow they all do go together a little bit. Those are all of the books on my main aesthetic bookshelf that I like to film in front of, but I do have another bookshelf that honestly might be holding more books than this one. So I'm gonna take you guys over there to show you that. But before I do that, I'm gonna show you what I consider my TBR basket, but it has now become my TBR basket / my overflow basket. I'm gonna try and slide it into the frame without it toppling over. So this is the TBR basket. Yeah, it's a hot mess. This started because when I would film my TBR videos every single month, once I had picked a book, I would add it to this basket, and that kind of just helped me because it was separate from the rest of my bookshelves. I would see it every day and remember, hey, these are the books I'm supposed to be getting to this month. As you can see, all these shelves are very full, and my other shelf is as well. So a lot of these books are also just books that I literally had nowhere else to put them. Out of this whole stack, these are the ones on my TBR for July. And then these are all the others, and it does go to the bottom of this basket. I will say a lot of these are books that have been on previous month's TBRs that I didn't get to, so I just left them in the basket. And they are also more on my radar, more on my mind to read soon because they've been on recent TBRs. So it's not fully chaotic, it's just a little bit chaotic. But yeah, this is basically just overflow / TBR / books I want to get to soon. And I literally just keep this sitting on the floor next to the big bookshelf. And I lied, there's actually one more thing to show you guys before I do take you to the other big bookshelf. So we were just sitting over there, now we're over here. And this shelf originally started as just my book of the month books because obviously all the spines match with their little book of the month tabs, so I wanted to be able to have them all together on a shelf instead of trying to color coordinate them. But then I also recently added all my Emily Henry books on top because I just love Emily Henry so much, and it felt like a crime to have these books separated. Even though they're all standalones, they just look so cute together with all the bright colors. This I also did try to color coordinate, and as you can see, I've been failing at keeping that organized, but there was a point in time where my book of the month books were also color coordinated, but no longer. I failed at keeping up with that. Like I said, on top we have all of my Emily Henry books. On top I just have this cute green candle that I feel like the color scheme kind of fits with the vibe of her books. Now to get to the other big bookshelf. This is the other big bookshelf. You guys have probably seen me film in front of here as well. I typically don't do sit down videos in front of this shelf, but a lot of times if I'm giving updates in a reading vlog, I'll sit over here. Also, I live in a basement, for those who are curious. I don't think anyone's asked it yet on YouTube, but I do often get comments on TikTok of people saying, why do you live in the hull of a ship, or why does it look like you're in a dungeon? I just live in the basement of my college house. I live with 5 other girls currently, which I absolutely love, but I am very appreciative to have the basement because it gives me more space for things like my bookshelves. So on this bookshelf, I have a lot more decor going on compared to some of the others. But I have this cute little boot with some fake hydrangeas in it that I just use as a bookend. I think I found this at Target. And I have this little hot pink globe that I found at Hobby Lobby one time and knew I had to have. I also have a Hunt candle by Briarwick. This is an Etsy store. Again, I'll try to link it for you guys, but I got this immediately after reading the first Crescent City book. Speaking of, I have the first Crescent City book right here, along with my second copy of A Court of Silver Flames. This is just the hardback. I have my special edition of Little Women and my special edition of Emma by Jane Austen, as well as a copy of the Bible. Then my other bookend I'm using is this little iridescent blue candle. Don't know where it's from, potentially Target. Then I also have the Boys of Tommen series right here. This is partially on the top because I couldn't find room for it on the rest of the shelf, but also as soon as I closed the first book, I knew I was gonna have an unhealthy obsession with this series, so I wanted to be able to display it and show it off because I love it so much. We have the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I actually do have books 1 through 4 as well as this one, but they're at my parents' house. I actually don't know why I didn't bring them here. And right on top, I have this beautiful blue vase with fake hydrangeas because I don't think I could keep plants alive in the basement, but this vase was my Nana's. She had a ton of stuff like this and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Then I also just have a Polaroid camera. It does work, but I never use it and it looks cute as decor anyway. And then I have this little moon back here that is actually a lamp, but I don't know the last time I've turned it on. It looks really cool when it's turned on, but to be honest with you guys, I forget that it's there and I never use it. And then I just have a little sunglass display here. This used to be somewhere else and I really don't know why I moved it over here, but it fits perfectly right there, so I've just kept it there. This shelf is very satisfying to me because it is all series put together. There's no standalones, there's no series that are broken up. For the most part, this entire shelf is series I have finished or started. There is maybe one or two exceptions that I can think of off the top of my head on this shelf that I haven't read a single book in them, but they just happen to fit over here. But overall, for the most part, I have read every single book on these shelves. When I first set up this shelf, I tried to do it kind of a genre and like age category. Originally, it started with YA and went to adult, and then it also started with like fantasy, mystery, romance is how I originally had it. So like this shelf would be YA fantasies, and then the bottom left shelf would be adult romances. It's not like that anymore. You may kind of see a pattern throughout it because some books are where they've been from the beginning, but as I've added books to the shelf, I just haven't really kept up with that pattern, but that may be something I tried to redo and reset up when I moved. Starting on the right, we have all of our YA dystopian classics. We have the Hunger Games series, we have the Maze Runner with the prequel book, and then also Michael Bay, which was one of my favorite books growing up, and I feel like I never hear people talk about it, but it was like a YA sci-fi dystopian. Then on this shelf, we have the full Folk of the Air series, so the Cruel Prince trilogy, as well as the 2 books in the newest spin-off. And then I also have Lightlark books 1 and 2. I will be getting and reading book 3 as soon as it comes out. It's just not released yet. And I also have These Hollow Vows, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated YA fantasy romances to ever exist. Not enough people talk about how good it is. Then we move over to this shelf, which for the most part is my Fourth Wing collection, but we also do have Divine Rivals. So I have Divine Rivals, and then I have 2 copies of Ruthless Vows. One is just the normally published one, and then one is the Barnes & Noble special edition. I absolutely adore this series. We have Fourth Wing. I actually made a video recently on TikTok kind of going into detail about these Fourth Wing books, and even one I own that is my most prized possession in the world that's not currently on my shelf. So if you guys would be interested in knowing more details about that, it is on my TikTok page, and my TikTok will be linked in the description if you guys want to just go check out that video or follow me over there. And on the farthest shelf to the right, I have the entire Plated Prisoner series, as well as A Touch of Darkness. I just have the first 3 books. I think there might be more out now, and I know there's some out that follow the same timeline, but in a different character's perspective. I didn't care that much to continue on to those, but I did really enjoy these 3 books. And then right on top, we have Powerless and Powerful. I do own Reckless, but it's in the TBR basket because I'm getting to that as soon as possible. It literally came in the mail today, I think. Moving you guys down a little bit, we're gonna start on the right again. I have the entire Divergent trilogy, as well as the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. And then on the side here, I have this duology called Stealing and Ruling Destiny. I got sent that in PR. All I know is that it's YA sci-fi, maybe fantasy, I'm not totally sure, but they did fit perfectly right there, and that's really the only reason I have them right there. This shelf, I have the entire Shatter Me series, and no, I don't own the novellas, and I probably never will. I originally read this series when I was in high school, and it was just the first 3 books that were out. But then when I went to go do my reread, I just didn't think to pick up the novellas, and people tell me all the time that it's still worth it to read the novellas after finishing the series, and I have contemplated it because I do love this series. It's one of my favorites of all time, but I just feel like I've finished it and that story is closed for me, so I don't really know that I need to read the novellas at this point. I also have the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. One of them is actually not here right now because I'm lending it to a friend, and I'm so excited for this TV show to come out in August. Then we have a little weird situation going on here because we have the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, but as you can see, books 1 and 2 are on this shelf, and book 3 is on this shelf, and that is just because I had random gaps here and a random gap here, and these 3 books would not fit anywhere else together. So in a way, they're all still together because they're in line. We just have a shelf divider in between them, and I'm going to fix that when I move. There's just literally nowhere else to put them right now. I also have all the Jennifer Lynn Barnes books, so the Inheritance Games, which I have read all of, and I have the whole Natural series. This is one I haven't gotten to yet, but really hope to get to soon. On the left, I have the Red Rising series. I only have books 3, 4, and 5 here right now because I'm lending books 1 and 2 to my dad for him to read, and then I also have the Crowns of Nyaxia series over here. Right on top of the Red Rising series, I just have this skull candle. I think this is from the Halloween section at Kroger actually, but I just love how it's iridescent and the purple just looks so cool. And I don't know, but I just love it on the bookshelf. Now to bring you guys all the way down to the bottom, immediately under that last shelf I showed you, I have the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I stopped after the War of Two Queens, so I don't have any that came out after that. And then over here I have Haunting and Hunting Adeline, which, if you want to know more about my thoughts on these books, I do have a vlog on my channel right now called Reading Books I'm Intimidated By, and all I can say is I think I had a good reason to be intimidated by them because they low-key scarred me. Over here, this is like all romance. We have the entire Magnolia Park series, as well as the Knock 'em Out series, and then the Flock series. I think it's actually called the Ravenhood series, but these are just all adult romances in one form or another. They're all very different from each other, but it just made sense to put them all on the same shelf because they are all adult romances. And then the last two shelves, we have the Ember and the Ashes series. This is another trilogy that I have not gotten around to yet. I have the entire Grishaverse. Well, I know there's technically books I'm missing, but I have the Shadow and Bone trilogy as well as the Six of Crows duology. And then over on this far side, I have the first two books in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. This is another one that I don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet. And then I have all of Caraval, Serpent and Dove, and then the Dance of Thieves duology. I was literally about to film my outro for this video when I looked over and realized more books that I didn't show you. Now, technically, this is not a part of the bookshelf, but it is a pretty hefty stack of books, so I'll just show it to you guys really quick. So on this side table, next to my big bookshelf, I have a random stack of books. This has no rhyme or reason whatsoever. It's just that I had nowhere else to put these. I think this originally started as mostly like nonfiction or classics or that type of thing, but it's clearly become a total jumble of random books. That is the full completed bookshelf tour. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it would really help me out. And you can go ahead and check out all the other videos I have posted on my page now and be stay tuned for more in the future. And also be stay tuned for a moving vlog plus a video setting up my new bookshelves. I'm really excited to film that. I do have my Instagram and TikTok linked in the description below if you'd be interested in following me over there. And I will try to link as many of my shelves and decor pieces in the description below that I can find. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and that's all for now. Bye guys!